Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the meeting of the Public Works Committee of the Albany County Legislature for November 24th. We're doing this remotely, as always, due to the ongoing pandemic, and we are wishing all of your families good health and safety in this holiday season. Would the Deputy Majority Counsel please call the roll?
Sure thing, Mr. Chair. Mr. Brewski.
Here.
Mr. O'Brien.
Here.
Mr. Cleary.
Here.
Mr. Peter.
Here.
Mr. Reinhardt. Mr. President, Mr. Smith.
Here.
Mr. Fine.
Mr. Fine will be excused.
Bergdorf.
Here.
Pearly.
Mr. Pearly is excused.
7 present.
Thank you very much. First order of business is approving the previous meeting's minutes. Can I have a motion?
Mr. Chair.
The motion by Mr. Peters, seconded by Mr. Cleary. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed say no. That passes unanimously. Excellent. On to our first order of our current business, item number 2 on the agenda, which is authorizing an agreement with Appalachia LLC regarding the purchase of road salt to control snow and ice on state and county roads. Is this Mr. Latina's item, or who's speaking on this item?
Actually, it's Lisa Raimondo.
Oh, hi there, Lisa. How are you?
Hi, good. How are you?
I'm doing all right.
Excellent. Yes, so this is our annual salt contract. Appalachia was the low bidder. The salt prices this year are $56.54 a ton. That's up $1.65 from last year. We estimate that we're going to use approximately 23,500 tons. Typically in our storms, we go through about 1,500 tons. So we can afford 15.6 storms this year. That's all I have.
Have we seen any forecasted change in usage with the decline in travel, or I would have to imagine the roads still have to be clear?
You know what? Honestly, it completely depends on the weather. Like there's, you know, if it snows or if there's ice, we treat the roads regardless of whether or not there's anticipated more or less cars on the road. Last week, as a matter of fact, if you were in Albany or Colony, you wouldn't have realized it because we just got but a dusting, but up in the hills, we got 3 inches of snow. And so we were out last week applying material.
Mm. Thank you, Commissioner. Any questions from the members?
Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Bergdorf.
Yeah, Lisa, this is probably what happens when you give us too much information.
Oh, boy.
No.
Yeah.
I just never saw this before. Under the contract award notification from procurement services, it says road salt is used for snow and ice control. Treated salt is granular sodium chloride. Rock salt treated with corrosion inhibited liquid magnesium chloride types 1 and 2. These are field requirement contracts which require the contract user to purchase 70% of their field requirement or 50% of their field requirement if an awarded county is for solar. Automatic price increases become effective once deliveries exceed 120%. Is that new language? I'd never seen that.
No, I will get back to you on that. There is like a minimum requirement in order of purchase in order to get that price. So we do purchase the minimum. It is not new language.
Okay, thank you. That's all.
Yep.
I never saw that before.
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Peter.
if there are no other questions, I'd like to make a motion.
Motion
Second.
by Mr. Peter. Do I have a second by Mr. O'Brien?
Yep.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed say no. That's unanimous motion. Thank you very much. Let's move on to item number 3, which is authorizing an agreement with Polydyne to supply the water purification district with liquid polymer.
This is Angelo Gaudio with the Water Purification District. Yeah, this is a contract request with Polydyne. They were the lowest responsible bidder. This is used for our dewatering. It's acts as a coagulant for our sludge processing. and it'd be for a 2-year term with a 1-year renewal. And then the estimated annual amount is $200,000. So for the 2-year term, the total contract value is estimated to be $400,000.
Outstanding. Any questions from the members?
Quick question.
Mr. O'Brien, is that a question or is that a motion? I think that's a motion. Let's go to Mr. Bergdorf with a question first.
Angelo,
Yes.
I'm looking at the bid tab sheet. Were they the only responsible bidder? It said product 2 and product 3 not applicable. So
They were the only bidder. We've used Polydyne for a number of years now. Again, we don't have any concerns with them as a supplier.
Okay, now, but they're the only people that sell it?
It's proprietary to them. So there are manufacturers that make similar types of items. Generally, what would happen if there was a different manufacturer that would come in, they would do essentially a bench test just to confirm that their product essentially meets the performance requirements. But there are other alternatives or substitute vendors that would supply that potentially. But yeah, historically, Polydyne has really been the only bidder. I don't know if other people feel that they can't compete with the number or what the case is there.
Okay, thank you very much.
Sure.
Motion.
We have a
Second.
motion by Mr. O'Brien, seconded by Mr. Peter. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed say no. That carries unanimously. Welcome, Mr. Fine. We have you here. Make sure that the council notes your attendance.
Thank you, Mr. Bruschi.
Let's move on we're on item number 4, which is authorizing an agreement with county waste and recycling services regarding rubbish removal at various county facilities.
Hi, this is Pam O'Neill with purchasing. We are requesting to enter into a 3-year contract with county waste for the waste removal and recycling services for the various facilities. And the total contract amount is $439,456, and that would be for 3 years. And we're awarding it to the lowest responsive and responsible bidder.
Outstanding. Any questions?
Make a
on the
motion.
membership? Motion by
Second,
Mr.
Mr. Chairman.
O'Brien, seconded by Mr. Peter. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed say no. And that carries unanimously.
Thank you very much.
I think we can group item number 5 and 6 together, but we'll take the vote separately. The authorizing agreement with New York State Industries for the custodial services at the family court building. And I understand that we are sharing this. The state is picking up half the tab, and we're picking up half the tab. Is that right?
No, Chairman. What this is this is under the 686 contract for New York State court system. For the family court, they will be picking up 79% of the actual cost in this. And in the Justice Center, they would be picking up 53% of the actual cost of the contract. This is the first year of a 1-year extension in the contract with New York State Disabilities, who assigns it to second chance opportunities for the cleaning contracts of these facilities.
Thank you, Commissioner Latina. Any questions from the membership?
Motion, Mr. Chair.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Peter, second by Mr. O'Brien. This is for item number 6 on the, 5
Chairman?
on the agenda. All in favor say aye.
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 Chairman,
Sorry, is Mr. Cleary, is that a
I'm
question?
going to abstain.
Okay, we will please note Mr. Cleary's abstention. Any opposed, say no. That carries unanimously with 1 abstention. For item number 6, is there anything else to add to that one?
It's the same.
Same one?
Yep.
Can I have a motion on item number 6? Motion by Mr. Peter, second by Mr. O'Brien. All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed say no. And we'll note Mr. Cleary's abstention.
Thank you.
Outstanding. Moving right along to number 7. This is authorizing an agreement with CT Mail Associates regarding professional architecture and engineering services for various Albany County projects.
Yes, we're looking just to extend their contract. They are actually working on the garage rehabilitation project, which was a little bit delayed for the COVID of this year. So we're looking just to extend the contract. We're not looking for any more dollar value to the contract, just extending it to April 30th of, April 30th, 2021.
Okay, so this is in response to a specific project, or is this a retainer for any services that might?
Well, this was the original retainer for this project was for architectural and engineering services. So when we did this, they were brought on board. This was a bonded engineering bond. They won this contract, so that's why they've been working on this project.
Okay,
Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Peter, our resident expert on garages.
Commissioner Latina, this is that $3 million repair project, right? Give or take?
Correct. Correct.
Yeah, and to Mr. Latina's point, I do know that many of these projects were delayed because of COVID, supplies, etc. So, and I have no issue given that we've already approved them and extending this. So, if there's no other questions, I'd like to make a motion.
Mr. Chair, question.
Paul, is that a question or is that a motion?
Just a quick question. As part of our budget, adds and deletes, we're adding $100,000 for Board of Elections. Now, you had used, Dave, you had used CT Mail in the past to do the engineering services for BOE.
That is correct.
Is this 300,000 exclusively for the garage, or can some of it be used for other purposes? Would there potentially be balances remaining?
Well, we have another. This is the completion of our first engineering bond. There's very little money left in the CT Mail. Once this project is finished, we'll be going out to rebid for engineering again under another bond that we have money in.
And what's the timing of that rebid?
We can rebid it I think at any time we want under a new bond. I would have to check with that, but this was the final payment or the final cost with CT Mail. That's why we're not asking for any money, because all the monies are put into their contract.
Okay, but ultimately, if the budget is passed as anticipated and there requires some engineering services, you have a mechanism to procure that?
Well, yeah, it would depend on what the project would be. If it's a separate project, we would just go out for an RFP for engineering services for that project. If that's what I'm getting at. If you have a separate.
Ultimately, when we first started with CT Mail, it was a generic contract where you used them for a bunch of different projects.
Correct.
Now it is morphed into exclusively the Times Union garage.
Well, no, not really. This part of the money, that's all they have left is to finish the garage. If I had more money left, then I would be able to push them onto other projects in this 1 year in their contract term. But once the money is exhausted through their contract pricing, I would have to go out and rebid it for a new contract under, let's say if I had $300,000 in another bond that I have sitting there for engineering services, I would go out and rebid that, because this contract, their $300,000 would be exhausted. Otherwise, I would have to come back to you and say, okay, I want to extend their contract, CT Mail's contract. I want to use another couple $100,000 for projects, rather than trying to see if I can go out and get better pricing through another engineering firm on a new contract.
So do you have anything in your 2021 budget that allows for individual architect and engineering reviews?
That's usually done. We usually do that through the project, except in the bonding of the capital plan. That's why a few years ago, we developed that engineering bond for when we needed it to get started on the projects before going out to bond the projects. Like if I wanted to do a $2 million project and I didn't know exactly how much it was going to cost, we could start the engineering in that bond and go through that, and then cover it with the when we start the project with the bonding.
There's a motion on the
There's a
floor.
motion
Let's move to,
by Mr. O'Brien and by Mr. Peter. Let's consider that now. All those in favor, say aye.
aye.
Any opposed, say no. And that also carries unanimously. All right, our final item of the
Thank you,
evening
Chairman.
is authorizing a utility easement to Niagara Mohawk Power Corporation for the installation of vehicle charging stations at 304 Madison Avenue. Is this yours, Mr. Who's is speaking on this one?
I believe Lucas Rogers was supposed to be on. I don't know if he's, I don't see him.
Okay, I believe the story was that outside of New York OGS, that they were trying to install these things. It's county property. They want and
Yes.
easement to get in there.
Essentially it's the parking lot behind the Cathedral Immaculate Conception. OGS is trying to install these ZEV charging stations for electric cars. In order to do so, Niagara Mohawk needs to upgrade its power poles there. So it's a garden variety utility easement given to Niagara Mohawk so they can go in and put in what they need to put in to up the voltage for these stations. The easement has been reviewed by the law department in form and substance. Is, like I said, it's a standard plain vanilla easement.
See a motion by Mr. Peter.
I'm sorry, Mr. Cleary, did you have a question? I'm sorry.
Is it
I didn't mean to
Niagara
interrupt.
Mohawk or National Grid or? Just curious.
I have to be honest with you, the easement that I was given, I sort of picked up the ball on this. The easement is actually with Niagara Mohawk. It could very well be because they have an existing easement in that name existing for what power poles are there. However, the actual schematic that was drawn up of the easement was done by National Grid. So I'm considering them one and the same.
Okay, thank you.
Motion by Mr. Peter.
Yep.
Second by Mr. O'Brien. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed, say no. And with that, that concludes our agenda for this evening. Could I have a motion to adjourn the meeting?
Motion.
Motion by Mr. Peter, second by Mr. Reinhardt. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed, say no.
Aye.
All right. Thank you very much, everyone, for coming out. Stay safe. Have a wonderful Thanksgiving, and we will see you on the other side.